Welcome everybody, and at the request of a friend of mine and a fellow YouTuber, I'm here to review Homefront: The Revolution. Now, Homefront: The Revolution, look, I know it's caught a lot of hell. A lot of people say the game sucks, and yet there's still people playing it. What do I think about it? Because I am a reviewer. I don't just go off what other people tell me. I have to be optimistic and play for myself. Now, I wasn't going to pay the $60, okay, because I know what a game is worth. This was not worth $60. I bought this on sale for $22, but my buddy at GameStop let me use a coupon to drop it to 10, so I really paid 12. So $12 I paid for the game. So how does this hold up? It's not great, and it's not the fucking abomination that people call it to be. It's not. It's, you know, yes, but yes, it has its problems. And I have faced its problems, but I worked through those problems, and after that, I haven't faced its problems no more. It just feels like it just ends up turning into an open world generic shooter, but that's the same thing the Far Cry game is. It just becomes an open world generic shooter. Except the Far Cry games have good story. This game, I mean, I like the premise of the Homefront games, its storyline, but it's not told properly. It has an interesting storyline, but the storyline is too far-fetched, because no way in fucking hell North Korea can ever invade us or fuck us up. We run them out. Now, the story in this one makes a little bit more sense than the first one, where the first one said that they just invaded. This one gave a reason why they invaded, and give them more context into how they were able to do it, how they were to beat our asses and then take over. It's still far-fetched and full of shit, so it shouldn't have, the Homefront games should have never been a take on a realistic story. They should have been fictional stories, even though they are fictional stories, but they try to be too real when they should have just been more a little out there. Now this game is like a Far Cry clone, just like the first game is a clone of Battlefield and Call of Duty. So how do you go from first person shooter game, war game, to a open world shooter? I feel I don't compare the two games, Homefront 1 and Revolution. I see them as their own games, because the stories don't connect at all. They just take place in the same universe. This game takes place, I forgot where the first one took place at, but this one takes place in the open world of the ruined city of Philadelphia. Now, how does that work? What differs this game from the first? Well, like I said, it borrows the elements of Far Cry. Go through open world, take down your enemies, capture bases, do missions to earn XP, to buy weapons, buy cash. The only thing it doesn't have is a upgrade system where you can level up your character. You can just buy your upgrades instead of earning them by leveling up. That's the only difference, but you know, I guess you need to differ yourself from your competitor. Now the game has its issues. It's not the most beautiful looking game. It's not the most, it's not the shittiest game. It runs well enough for you to play. But it has its own unique way on take on its weapons, such as its weapons convergence systems, its items. So it tries to differ itself from a different open world. Now, how does the open world look? The open world is massive. If it's equal, if not a little bit bigger than Far Cry, because you know it's a city, it's huge, and more Far Cry, you're in like a forest location or an island, you know, something like that, and you can transition to these different areas, and every area does look different. You have the high class level areas that the Koreans took over, or people who have turned to the Korean side, who live in the rich area, and then you have the fucking people who live in the slums, barely go into day to day, and you have the revolution resistance fighters fighting the KPA. Now, were they called the KPA in the first game? I do not know. I guess this is a different sect of the Korean unit. I'm just getting too much into that. The game controls well. The guns do work right. You know, the weapons are responsive. The only thing I hate that they crossed over from the first game was its aiming system. The fucking aiming system is terrible when it comes to, if you don't have an attachment, if you're just trying to shoot down the sights, unless it's a pistol, it's not going to work. The guns jumble around too much. Now, that's what I have to say about the single player, and I hope you can you do like give this single player a chance. Now, the game does carry its multiplayer segment, and I'm going to talk about the multiplayer segment right now, because that's a whole different section, and it does deserve its own amount of attention. So, you know, thank you for listening so far. Homefront: The Revolution's multiplayer is modeled after Far Cry 3's Far Cry 3's co-op experience, not multiplayer as in TDMs and so on and so forth. This is modeled after, you can make your own character, you go into different types of missions, and you can just keep going over these missions to level up, earn XP, earn guns, and earn cash to buy your attachments, weapons, and different looks for your character. Now, how are these missions? Are these missions strong enough to hold up its multiplayer aspect? It is if you're playing with friends, okay? But before we get into that part, I do want to talk about you could buy the same weapons that are in the co-op, in the single player, but there's different perks you can have for your character, different ways to level up, different ways of XP. I know there was something else, but the only thing is the fucking aiming system does cross over here with it's hard to aim down the sights type of BS. But now that I got that out the way, I'm going to talk about how the missions can stand up. The missions are just basically, I think they're parallel to the story mode, because whatever's going off camera, it's like where your multiplayer character picks up, and you could just go on and you do these missions alongside AI and alongside players. It's just infiltrate, kill, take weapon, basically generic military operation type of missions. But the problem is, it's too fucking difficult. Even when you set the shit on easy, the enemies have that pinpoint laser accuracy, and I don't understand why. Now, the worst part is when you're playing with fucking other players that are not your friends. See, this is a mode that you need to play with your friends, because you guys can coordinate and cooperate. This mode does require teamwork, because the enemies, they throw the fucking hammer at you. And you have players who won't revive you, or they expect you to have the ability to revive yourself. They expect you to know what you're doing. No, motherfucker, just because you probably modded your game and got all the shit early and you think you're a fucking beast, there's some of us that actually like to enjoy and play. Now, the game modes are vastly different. They do have different objectives. My personal favorite one is Bait. It has the title of the movie, Enemy at the Gates, which is very different. But these missions are just basically objective missions, survive a horde. Objective missions, survive a horde of enemies. Survive a wave. Or get to this objective, take this over there, escort this there, guys go over there, but you still fight endless waves of hordes. The only thing that keeps you wanting to come back is you do want to progress, you do want to get the other weapons, but you need to do it with your friends. Doing it by yourself is a biatch. Like, it's a serious fucking biatch. Now look, I know I sound like I hate the game, but I wouldn't have made it this far if I actually hated it. I don't hate it. All that matters is I had fun in the campaign mode, and I can have fun in the multiplayer when I have played games with competent people that actually know how to work together. I've played them, they worked well, but you have incompetent fucking idiots are the ones you get stuck with, and you never know who you get stuck with, you know? You never do. But as for the overall game in general, I think they should have took out the multiplayer and focused even more on the campaign, because then maybe you could have fixed some of your game issues. Now, the game issues, by what I hear, most of them got ironed out. I've only experienced maybe a few. My only gripe is just the aiming down the sights. Unless you have the grip and a scope, iron down the sights is gonna be a biatch to you. Unless you're using a pistol, like I said. I never talked about the graphics. You know what, let's just run that through. The graphics, they're slightly better than the first game, but they look more like Far Cry. They obviously, when you model a game after Far Cry, you're gonna model after its graphical engine. I'm not surprised. I don't know what else I could say about the game. I know it just, like I said, it sounds like I hate it, but I don't. If you have the money, if you have like you know, because it's dropped to 22. If you have a $10 coupon to drop it down to 12, I'd say go for it. Get friends, you know, get each of it 12. Let's see, you need 4 friends to play multiplayer. 12, 24, 32. At least roughly about $50. You each can have your own copy of the fucking game. Or $60, you each can have your own copy of the damn game. Just make sure you all have a $10 coupon from your Power Up Rewards. Homefront, here's what I have just overall the grade of the game. It's an average game for me. It's not the piece of shit people say it is, but it's not the crowning jewel that I feel the Homefront games could have been. The Homefront games had a second chance. It's still better than the first. Trust me, I think the first was terrible. The only thing that kept you going back to the first, because it had a good Battlefield clone multiplayer. That was it. A good clone of Battlefield's multiplayer. That's all it had going for it, and that's all it had, but that died down quick. I was expecting this to be a little bit more different. It is different. It is. But not strong enough. I would say maybe an improved sequel, or get a new developer. Hell, I'm fucking saying this. Get EA or Activision. Reboot the game. Give it a second chance. Or give it a third chance. It's gonna need a second chance now. Or a third chance. But Homefront the Revolution, it's an average game. Not the greatest game in the world. But not the piece of shit that it describes to be. I mean, look. You had the potential, man. You had the fucking potential. But just give it a shot when it's on sale. That's all I gotta say.